Well, hello and welcome back to our Midweek Mashup. I'm sitting down today with Pastor Eric and Pastor Becca. We have 3 people on the Midweek Mashup now, which we're trying out. That'll be fun. Yeah. And this is your first Midweek Mashup.
Yeah, I had to ask what Midweek Mashup was.
Yeah, but thank you guys for sitting down. We are kicking off our Advent series, which has something to do with Christmas.
Yes.
As far as I can tell. Which I think the last time we really dived deep into what Advent was, we were sitting down last year and talking about what Advent was.
Sounds about right.
So I could probably use a refresher. But I wanted to start with kind of a hot topic question. This is a curveball.
My favorite.
When does Christmas start? Because some people, it's a firm December 1st. Some people, it's Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving. Right? Others, it's the day after Halloween. But I actually saw Christmas stuff coming out before Halloween actually even happened. Mm-hmm. Target was already switching over to Christmas sort of stuff. Yeah. So what is it for you guys?
So there's 2 answers for me. There's the in theory, when does Christmas start, which is, for me, has always been December 1st.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But I have a daughter who's obsessed with Christmas, and her birthday is on November 1st, and so she asked if she could, for her birthday, decorate the interior of her house on November 1st. So in theory, December 1st, in my house, November 1st. So
you're like closeted November 1st people, because it's just the inside.
Well, yes. Well, she's been bugging me about the outside, so I keep going like, soon, we'll get to it soon. But that's where we're at.
I love Halloween. Halloween's my favorite holiday, so nothing should intrude on Halloween's goodness, in my opinion. And when I went to Costco in like September and there was Christmas bows next to Halloween wreaths, I had a really hard time with that. So for me, Halloween is celebrated, and then you have a quick month of folly, Thanksgiving things, and then Black Friday or the day after Thanksgiving is when I decorate for Christmas. But I also am kind of more of like December 1st is when music should start, because when you work retail or food service and they have like a 112 song CD of Christmas music that you listen to from November 1st until the new year.
Yep.
Oh, that's rough.
That's rough. I think that's probably why I'm not a fan of Christmas anymore, because of the 12-track CD.
You know what? That's fair. I mean, my wife and I, we decorated the day after Thanksgiving. Well, decorated is a strong term. We took the things out of the box the day after Thanksgiving. Christmas, you know what? I'm fine with it overtaking Thanksgiving a little bit. I'll allow it.
False.
But Halloween, nope. That's where we draw the line.
Yeah.
But well, I'm excited for Christmas.
Yep.
We're in November right now.
Yep.
Still. So why are we talking about Christmas, Advent? Yeah. It's this like 5-week sort of thing that we do as a church. And so we played like a Christmassy bumper video. We have Christmas trees in our atrium, but it's still November. So what's going on with that?
Yeah, so Advent is a 5-week celebration of these different gifts that we receive because Jesus became a baby, became flesh, right? And this year, the 5th Sunday of Advent, it happens to be Christmas Eve, and it falls on a Sunday. So we're a little earlier to Advent than we normally would be, and that's kind of fun. It's going to be really fun as a congregation to celebrate Christmas Eve at our normal time of worship, and it's going to be a good time. So that's why we ended up dipping into November a little bit, even though it feels like a December thing to do. So
So we're doing this Advent series, and we're going through the book of Hebrews. How exactly does that tie in?
Yeah, that's good.
What did we talk about on Sunday?
So Advent is a season of preparing ourselves for Christmas, the celebration of when God became human. And that is far more important to the Christian faith than I think sometimes gets presented. I've been in Christian spaces where like we ask people what the gospel is, and they're just like, Jesus died for our sins. And that is absolutely important. Don't get me wrong. It is a part of the gospel, but it's not the whole gospel. And the fact that God became human is a huge piece of that we really need to dive into. Why does it matter that Jesus became human? Why is this the way that God chose to reconcile all things to himself? The book of Hebrews is all about the incarnation of Jesus. It's all about why it matters that Jesus became human. And so the book kind of follows this really fun pattern of in Jesus we have this blank. And then the formula actually kind of goes like this. It's not like, hey, celebrate, hey, in Jesus we have this. That's true. In Jesus we have this, which is better than anything you leave behind to follow Jesus. So don't turn back, stay focused, stay on track, continue to follow Jesus. And so the whole book is about what is it, because Jesus became human, what does that mean for us? So this Sunday, the first two chapters are kind of about, hey, Jesus is superior to all prophets and angels, which are kind of God's like classic messengers throughout the Bible. He's the most superior messenger, and he came to show us what God is like. And it says that he is the exact representation of God's being, meaning that if we want to know what God is like, we just need to look to Jesus. So my main point this week was because we have incarnation, because Christmas happened, we now know as fully as we can possibly know as humans what God is like, and that is a huge gift that we receive at Christmas. So that's where this week kind of focused on, and we're going to spend the rest of the next 4 weeks talking about different aspects, different things that we receive because because Christ became human, and what that means for us. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
I think that is really interesting that we're focusing on in this season of Advent is like the humanity of Jesus. And I think it's important for students, young adults, anybody to recognize the humanity of Jesus and the importance of what it meant for him to become flesh and to live a life that we can relate to some degree, because he has the same struggles. He's been through similar things. So it gives us that space or that ability to relate to Jesus. He understands me. He understands the canon of my human emotion and experiences. And it makes Jesus that much more relatable. And so learning how to celebrate that through the Advent season and what it means to have hope because of him, to have love, to have peace, all of those things, and to learn that through his human experience is one of, I think, the greatest gifts we can receive in this Advent season.
Yeah.
I think it's so good that we're talking about Jesus as a dude, like Jesus as a guy. Like when we think of Jesus, we think of like someone cursing, like Jesus Christ, right? And it's kind of like this abstract sort of thing that Christians talk about on Sundays. But Jesus as a person is really interesting because we're talking about how God became a real person and historically did real things. And I can't think of how many conversations that I've had where people are like, oh, so like the book of Romans, like is that like the Roman Empire, the actual Roman Empire, like from history? And it's like, this takes place in history. This is not a fairy tale.
Exactly.
So I'm really glad that we're diving into the book of Hebrews, which kind of goes into the more Jewish kind of perspective on everything. And Jesus was Jewish and was a guy who lived up until he died. And then he lived again, which is, kind of a plot twist, but not really. But I'm so excited for Advent. As we're kind of moving into December and towards Christmas Eve, what's kind of the thing that should be on everyone's mind? What's the end goal of this Advent series?
One of the things I mentioned in the sermon this weekend that, I hope it didn't rub anybody the wrong way, but like my whole adult life and even, like my early connections with Christianity, I always heard these phrases like Christian principles or biblical values. And I never like fully understood what any of that meant, because there's competing ideas of what the Bible says or competing ideas of what Christian ethics are. And so I was like, that just seems very abstract to me. That seems like a moving target at times. And who gets to decide which are the right values and ethics and principles, right? And the author of Hebrews certainly is interested in the ethics and the behaviors and the patterns of life of the people in the congregation that are being written to. But the primary emphasis is on, and is repeated, fix your thoughts or fix your eyes on Jesus. Like, the principles aren't the North Star. The values aren't the North Star. Jesus is the North Star. Look to him over and over and over again. Let him be the thing that shapes how you experience life, about how you treat other people, about how you order your life and your existence. And yeah, we do our best to discern what does it look like to do that as ethically as possible. But the only way to really do that is to look to Jesus. The author of Hebrews calls him the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. So what did he do? And let's try to do that as best we can. And the only way to do that is to know him. And so the brief thing I challenged us to do that I think needs to take more shape over time, to get more specific, is read about him. We have 4 Gospels that give us a lot of information about who Jesus is, what he did, and what he cares about, and talk to him constantly. Like, that's what prayer is. Just like, Lord, what would you do in this situation? Lord, how help me? Lord, you said you'd never leave me or forsake me. Are you with me? I want to trust that you're with me in this. And so, it sounds so funny because, I used to laugh when I was like a junior high pastor about how you'd ask a question and be like, and the kids would be like, I think the answer is Jesus. And you're like, okay, but go a little deeper. And then sometimes, actually, it doesn't need to go any deeper. Like, the answer is Jesus. Like, it's more complicated than that, but like, let's get back to that. Let's fix our eyes upon him. So
that's so cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for sitting down and talking a little bit about Advent. So excited. If you want to hear more from Pastor Eric, I'll go ahead and add a banner that will link to that sermon that kicked off our Advent series.
Should add a banner to the Book of Hebrews rap that Becca did. Hamilton style. That would be terrible.
We all know I can't rap.
That would be great. Oh my gosh, we need to see that. Merry Christmas, everybody.
All right. Welcome back to Midweek Mashup. We're glad to be back. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next week.